How weak are you on TV complaining about tuna and noodles? Yeah, look, our troops are being absolutely disrespected in the worst way possible. This time by some blowhard named Joey Jones, who looks like the generic stock photo that's used on dental office billboards across the country. And his disrespectful comments came on Fox News because, of course, it's on the network that has wrapped themselves in supporting the troops for 30 years while they also support a Trump regime that has completely disrespected our current and former military members at every turn. And this guy, this Joey Jones, was talking about our active duty United States sailors on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Joey Jones on this show Saturday went after service members who have been speaking up about the horrid conditions on that carrier. Watch this.
I mean, how weak are you on TV complaining about tuna and noodles? I'm sorry. You volunteered to serve your country. You can come back, get out of the military, and do like all of these Democrat veterans and complain about it and make commercials and be a sellout if you want to and come up with a new way of doing things. The last Democrat president that I remember that was deploying troops, Barack Obama, had the Army going to Iraq on patrol bases for 15 months at a time, eating MREs. I'm sorry, but you're a sitting duck on a patrol base in Iraq, in Afghanistan, a heck of a lot more than you are on a fortified Navy ship sitting in the water. You might have got bored, and I'm sorry. We did have more fun getting in firefights, I'll say that. But to sit there and say that it was terrible because you had a corn dog and a hot dog, I would have traded a block of C4 to the Taliban for a hot dog by about July 2010. I just do not understand the mentality. If this is a representation of who our military is now, and I'm not saying it is, but there's at least enough for some of these trash rags to print about it. If this is who we are, we're just Rome sitting here waiting to burn. We've got nothing left.
Now, I did a piece on the USS Abraham Lincoln. I think it aired yesterday. And what these sailors and their families are actually describing is downright ghoulish. Rotten meat, no milk, food rationing, plumbing failures. The list goes on and on. And before I go to the next portion of this story, I want to say that if you are struggling, the National Mental Health Helpline is available 24/7, 365 by dialing 988. But the sailors on this carrier have described brutal schedules with barely any sleep. Morale has collapsed on this deployment that keeps getting extended with no end in sight. And at least one sailor that's confirmed by the government and reports of many more, acting upon their darkest thoughts, have either considered, tried, or actually jumped overboard. That is the most serious thing that we can think of in this situation, not some blowhard on Fox News. And another ship in the same region is reporting similar conditions. The USS Boxer, a family member of someone on board, says that the women there have been reduced to begging relatives back home to mail them feminine care products. Look, I can tell you that it isn't a sailor's weakness that has led to near starvation or a lack of basic human sanitation or led to this disrespect. That all comes from a broken supply chain and, even worse, a broken chain of command. To put it bluntly, these sailors didn't fail a mission. The people in charge of the mission failed them. And then they crapped on our service members when they spoke up about it. This Jones guy telling them, you volunteered to serve your country. Right, they volunteered to serve. They did not volunteer to be neglected, to be treated like they're subhuman. Jones saying unhappy sailors could get out and, quote, be a sellout. He called one of the service members that's speaking up a little kid. He joked that in Afghanistan he would have, quote, traded a block of C4 to the Taliban for a hot dog. Now look, credit where credit's due. Joey Jones is a Marine who was badly wounded in Afghanistan, and I will always have respect for his service. I have a massive amount of respect for anybody who puts themselves in harm's way for our country. And yet our elected and appointed officials, they're the ones that are starting the wars. It's not the soldiers. But that's exactly what makes Joey Jones' comments even worse. because he knows better than almost anyone what it costs, what it looks like when the people at the top fail the people at the bottom, the people doing the dangerous and hard work. And yet this guy, he looked at that and sided with the man who decided to start a war to allegedly distract all of us from the Epstein files, and then his minion, Pete Hegseth, the man who seemingly thinks that making sailors ration their already rotting food contributes somehow to this warrior ethos. It's insane. And I want to ask you guys, especially the veterans and military families that are watching, what do you want civilians to understand? What do you want us to know about what these sailors and their families are describing? You guys have been through the deployments. The comment section is yours on this one. Military families, please speak out. And look, I've got to say, it's one thing to be a loudmouth on Fox News like this Joey Jones guy who's looking to boost his ratings through rage bait. But it is another thing entirely for this administration, the Trump regime, to turn their backs on our brave service members and their families. Right? Right? So to make that clear, a reporter told Donald Trump that military families were worried about the conditions on the Lincoln. And his answer, no, they're not. Asked if the deployment had gone on too long, quote, no, not nearly long enough. He called the families of these deployed sailors liars and essentially told them that their suffering should have been greater. For the record, Donald Trump dodged his own generation's deployment with his doctor's note about his bone spurs in his feet. The Navy, they took the same approach, shamefully. The Naval Forces Central Command declared that the Boxer's reports, in all caps, false. All while more and more families keep coming forward with the same accounts. Then Donald Trump shamelessly doubled down and took to telling a reporter to be quiet and yelling at them that they were fake news just for asking the questions.
Quiet. You're very disrespectful in front of this young man. Okay? Don't you find her disrespectful? He understands. Quiet. Who are you with?
I'm with CNN.
Fake news.
I
You're
just wanted
fake
to follow up
news.
on this out-
You're a loud, boisterous person. You're fake news.
I was
Be
trying
quiet.
to find out if
Be
you had
quiet.
been talking
Be
to
quiet.
Freedom, if he had asked you
You're a
to
fake
scale back
reporter, and you
on the
report fake
military
news.
exercise.
Go ahead.
Mr. President, is there enough food on the USS Lincoln?
Yeah, it is. That was a CNN fake report. The Lincoln has been out there for a period of time, good period of time, but over the years we've had them out there much longer. I was at a group meeting, and an admiral came up to see me over the weekend, and it was at a big group, and he happened to be an admiral retired. He said, "I've been on ships that are out there much longer than that, sir, and I know people on the Lincoln, they say it's beautifully maintained and beautifully taken care of." And other people went out and they found out to be true. It was fake news reporting from CNN.
Donald Trump is shameful. And look, for this Joey Jones, his final word was to tell us all that he is state-run media by saying, quote, the Secretary of the Navy put out his response. That's my response. End of story. End quote. So essentially, he's telling the audience, whatever the government said, I'm going along with it. Doesn't matter if it's right or wrong.
The Secretary of the Navy put out his response. That's my response. End of story.
So if you are wondering why a Fox host performs loyalty this hard, just look at what happened to his coworker this past weekend as well. Trump spent Sunday posting rants at Fox's own Shannon Bream, calling her milquetoast, spelling it wrong again, because her show showed polls that he didn't like. The rule right now is defend Donald Trump or else, even if it means disrespecting our troops. Fox News, by the way, is the network that sells eagle screech patriotism between catheter commercials, flags on their desk, and they feature troops in every promo. We love our military, on a loop. But when actual sailors say, hey, we need food and sleep, suddenly Fox News looks like a white nationalist evangelical church when they're faced with the very people Jesus has told them to help. Fox News, they're not going to amplify what these families are saying. So do me a favor, hit the notification bell so that independent coverage like this actually reaches you. And if you're able, become a member, because members are how outlets like us stay loud when Fox News turns their back on the people who need our help the most.